it was a SPAR. I think they found one life jacket. That's all the only thing we found. And after 2 days, they called off the search.
So was it Strategic Air Command aircraft went down?
I don't know what it was.
Some kind of
went down. I just know it went down.
That was near Newfoundland, huh?
Yeah.
That was in the Davis Straits then? Basically?
No, we was out of Davis Straits by then. We was actually down in the Atlantic Ocean when we got there, you know, because we come around Newfoundland, come down the east side of Newfoundland, went across the south side, and St. Mary's, if you look on the map, you'll see it there. And we were going to turn up to go to Argentia to get refueled and everything. So after they called that out, they knew we had a schedule, and we went into Argentia to refuel. Not having any fuel, you know, for 3 months, 2.5 months. We went in there, and they fueled. I know they fueled overnight, and 2/3 of the crew got to go over the club.
Before you get into Argentia, you said the Davis Strait, was that really rough?
Ooh,
oh yeah,
those are huge things.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was the worst.
It was different. Well, all the stuff we had in the Gulf of Alaska was awful.
Yeah.
But this stuff was just big, monumental. I just remember these great big seas, don't you?
Yeah.
I don't know
But
what
I remember
it was.
gigantic icebergs somewhere.
Oh yeah, we saw icebergs.
There were some
icebergs
floating around the water. They were
all those pictures
big
are on
ones.
that CD I got. That's chronicles the whole trip.
That'd be great.
Oh yeah. I'll sit down and show it to you.
But here's another thing that happened. This Bellot Strait, I remember Captain Wood muttering the Bellot. That was a focal point. And it was in that area that the 4 vessels berthed together. The Storis had her anchor out. We had the SPAR and the Bramble one side, the Labrador on the other, and all 4 vessels were riding on the one anchor.
Really?
Yeah, and that was the night that the Canadian ship had a little party aboard, and some of the crew members of ours spent there and all that stuff. Now, that anchor was out there like a steel rod. It was absolutely taut. And it was kind of a gravelly type of bottom. And I went up there and looked, and I could see the chain jumping a little bit, Now, why did the Labrador not drop an anchor? Because the Canadians got a bonus when they were in the Arctic, until such time as they dropped the anchor. And then it stopped and had to start again when they lifted the anchor. So they went out of their way. Now, you got something that you...
Yeah. The 4 of them are wrapped together, right?
4 of them wrapped together right there.
Yeah.
There they are.
Whatever that is. So anyway, and the SPAR and the Bramble didn't drop an anchor or anything. They in retrospect, they should have. Because later on, a month or so later, when we got down Baltimore area, our anchor ripped off a fluke and all. We had to get a new anchor. So obviously the damn thing was under a horrible strain and had a weak point in it and gave way. Yeah.
I'll be darned. So. But it rode out the that anchor. You rode out the night
particular
anyway.
one.
Got through the party anyway.
Yeah, right. Got through the night.
Claire, what's the story on the Storis Pass? Because I know on the chart somebody sent me something showing me the Storis Pass.
Could you
seen that?
hit me with a little more water?
There's a little area dedicated.
There's a little area, I think.
You know anything about that?
No, I don't.
This is them to do,
Okay,
anyway.
It's not mandatory, right?
Okay. So you got into Argentia?
We got into Argentia. We stayed overnight. We left there the next day. I don't know what time we got underway.
So
I know the crew wasn't too happy because we had it mandatory. You always blow the bosun pipe. You know, and that shrill thing after a night at the club, you know, it didn't sound too good. So we got underway. I think it was about 2.5 days to Boston. We had to steam. And we get outside of Boston, and we're there about 2:30 in the afternoon. And we could see Boston right there, skyline and everything. And we couldn't go into the pier until 10 o'clock the next day. And we steamed outside, and I know you'd hear the engineer, why aren't we going in? What's wrong with these people on the bridge?
Waiting for the parade.
So you were just...
But we steamed back and forth all night long. And we had to be at the pier at 10 o'clock because they had everything
ceremony,
the ceremony and
big
everything
ceremony,
like that.
The SPAR and the Bramble were steaming back and forth as well?
The SPAR, they got permission to go home. They were out of Rhode Island.
Okay.
and they went directly home.
I see.
See, where was the Bramble?
The Bramble was out of Miami.
Oh, okay.
And the
Which one had Captain Carter aboard?
I don't know. I have to look at this.
I'll tell you.
I got it at home. I could tell you if I
He
had
died
it.
shortly after the trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, sudden death. Boom.
But anyway, and they had. You see them up there and they're not doing anything causing any trouble, you leave them alone. I don't care what they look like. And of course, we went ashore, and I know we went to a hotel up there, and I went dancing and everything, you know. Lady, real nice thing and everything. That's in our galley.
Oh, that's in yours. That's when you came back from Liberty.
No, the second night in, I had duty.
All right,
and I was the senior petty officer on board. And I remember the second class cook. I forget what his name was. He was Weed-Eye. No, Weed-Eye was the first class. Yeah, the second class cook. And
yeah,
make sure.
That's correct. And we the resort up there.
Yes, right.
And we went up there, so I was not involved with the
run-of-the-mill
social activity in Kingston, Jamaica, as Harry Belafonte used to sing. I left a girl in Kingston town. What the rest of the song goes.
There was a lot of officers in that facility when I was there. I don't know who I couldn't tell you.
But the rooms that we have are really nice. Really. It must have been.
Yeah.
Well, they always have the policy of visiting ports here and there as you make your voyage.
Yeah.
And then with us, with our beards and I'm sure newspaper articles, we were given somewhat of a special treatment, and yeah, it worked out that way. Yeah.
Okay.
The town. And the shore patrol boys would have carte blanche thing in the bars and all. If you wanted a beer or a Coke, they got it for free. And they'd go in, they'd walk in, look around, be there for a minute, and they go to. I knew a in Vallejo, and it was a pleasant duty, and given to him as a plum, you know. So,
Sure.
Yeah. And then, of course, sometimes shore patrol people could be a little bit on the uppity side. I remember during the war, I was in Port Miami. It was an emergency. And that was in Port Miami, which was during the war a very busy port. The vessels would load in San Francisco or L.A., depends, but they would go up to Miami and they would get the square of the hatch and sub of the deck and then have their ammunition and so forth there. And then they would leave Miami out in the Pacific, go out the Pacific. So Port Miami had a record of a lot of tonnage. Vessels every now and then.